tonight what we're going to talk about is the really crucial and key skill of paying attention. And when I talk about paying attention, what I love to say, and so, you might have heard me say this before, is so often I go into schools and I work with students and I ask students to raise their hand if they've ever been told to pay attention. And basically everyone raises their hand. Everyone has been told at some point, like, hey, pay attention. Hey, over here, pay attention to this math problem, right? Like teachers and grown-ups and adults will tell youth to pay attention. And then my next question is I ask, raise your hand if you've ever been taught how to pay attention. And maybe one or two students will raise their hand. And it's really interesting when grown-ups ask younger people to do things without teaching them how. And so a lot of times we just think we're bad at paying attention. We just think we don't know how, or we're just, we're not good at it, when the reality is we haven't been taught how to do it. And so tonight we're going to do a practice on paying attention. And there's many things to pay attention to. So again, when I talk about paying attention, it doesn't mean to do good in school, right? Although that can help. But paying attention can just help you in so many ways of life. It can help you be a better friend. If you ever talk on the phone with your friends, if you ever hang out with friends in person and they're talking and they're sharing a story and they say something that makes you think of something, and then you tune out and you kind of like gloss over and you stop listening, and then your friend gets upset for not listening to them. Is that relatable? Anyone have that? Attention totally helps in school, but paying attention also just helps with like being a better friend, or when we're learning new things like karate or a musical instrument, or some type of sport, and we're in like the heat of a game. Like the ability to pay attention is mental training, right? And so it can help us in many ways. We're going to do a practice where we use our breath to anchor us. And then what we're going to do is have labels for when we notice we're not thinking about our breathing. Okay, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. But when we really think about paying attention, there's like two things I like to think of. The first thing is it's building a muscle, right? So I'm like lifting my arm going like this, right? If I'm holding a weight and I'm not lifting it up, my arm doesn't get stronger. Every time I lift up that weight, it makes my muscles stronger. It's like one rep. And it's the same thing for when we're paying attention. Every time we notice that our mind wanders away from what we're trying to pay attention to and we bring it back, it's one rep for our attention muscle. But the other thing that I like to think about when we're paying attention is this analogy of when you have a puppy and you're training a puppy. So you have a puppy and the puppy's in front of you and you tell the puppy, stay. And then after 5 seconds, the puppy gets up and wanders off, right? Now, in that time, when you pick the puppy back up and you put it back down, you don't beat up the puppy and say, what is wrong with you, puppy? I can't believe that you wouldn't stay. Jay made a reference to Jay's dog, which, yes, Babs is the dog who obviously, yes, has a hard time staying sometimes when Babs is excited. And we never beat up Babs. We never were like, Babs, what is wrong with you? We would just bring Babs back to the spot and say, stay or sit. And the thing is that lovingness, but that lightness and that determination when we're training a dog to do something is the same thing we have to do with our mind. When we try to focus on paying attention and our mind wanders, we can't be like, mind, what is wrong with you? You're so stupid. You're always distracted, right? Instead of that, we just notice, oh, mind, I asked you to stay and you've wandered off. Come back and let's try it again. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to breathe in and out with our eyes closed in just a moment. And we're going to really focus on our breathing. Every time we breathe in, we'll feel the breath move breathing in. Every time we breathe out, we feel the breath moving out. And that's our anchor spot. That's what we're trying to pay attention to, although it's not the most easy thing to pay attention to our breath. So our mind will wander. Now, when it wanders, we want to notice if we have a thought, a feeling, or a sensation. So a thought might be, oh, I still have a lot of homework to do. Okay, so we would label that thought, and then we would come back to our breathing. Or we might, again, wander away from our breath, and we have this feeling of, oh, I'm so overwhelmed by the amount of homework I have. Then we would label it feeling. You can notice the difference between the thought and the feeling, right? And we bring it back. And then finally, we might have a sensation. Maybe our body feels achy or tight and it wants to move. Maybe we notice an itch. Maybe we notice like our leg is falling asleep or whatever that is. Our body can distract us from paying attention as well. So when we notice a sensation on our body, we just label it sensation. And then we bring our attention back to our breathing. So I'm curious if thought, emotion, and sensation makes sense. If you have any other ideas you want to contribute to this, or if you have any questions. What we're going to do is we're going to sit up tall. And I always suggest closing your eyes only because it can help really bring your attention on you. For me, I keep my eyes open a lot because I'm so used to teaching people in like spaces, and I tell them like, I'm going to make sure we're good in the space. So I'm very accustomed to leaving my eyes open, but I'm going to practice with my eyes looking down. But I recommend looking down only because it can really help focus on you. When we look around, it's so easy to get distracted and have more thoughts. So with sitting up tall, and with your eyes closed or looking down, you're going to bring your attention to your breathing. Notice if you can feel your breathing move in your body. Maybe you feel it move in your belly. Maybe you feel it move in your chest. Maybe you feel it by your nose. Now, every time you breathe in, you can say breathing in your mind. Breathing in, breathing out. Sometimes that really helps us anchor to our breathing. Or you don't have to say anything, you can feel the breath. Okay? Now, every time your mind wanders, just notice, what does it do? Is it a thought? Is it a feeling? Is it a sensation? Or also, like, do you just not know? I noticed something, but I don't know how to label it. So I'll say, I don't know, and then come back to your breathing. We're going to do this for between 1 to 2 minutes, and I'll bring you back at some point. I'll remind you, like, notice if your mind's wandered and bring it back. So sitting up tall, eyes closed, breathing in and out. Notice if your mind has wandered away from your breathing. Just notice wherever it's gone. Give it that label, thought, feeling, sensation, and then bring it back to the breathing. And breathe in and out. And breathe in and out. And just notice how that practice felt for you. That was 2 minutes. Did it feel long? Did it feel short? Did you feel like you could label your thoughts, feelings, sensations? Did you totally forget you were doing this practice? What did you notice?